Good evening, welcome. My name's Liz Speakman, and I'm here representing Quincy Votes for our Ward 4 Candidate Forum. We're really excited to be here tonight and welcome you and introduce our candidates as well as our panelists. Tonight we have candidate Joel Bonaventura, Jimmy Devine, Matt Lyons. They're all running for Ward 4 City Council. Our panelists who will be asking questions are Joe Catalano from QATV, Amy Tan, a sophomore at North Quincy High School, and Shika Babin, who is a Ward 4 resident and past president of Quincy Pride. We're really excited that everyone is here tonight to join us and learn more about the candidates from Ward 4. Just to share a little bit about Quincy Votes, we are a community group that was started about a year ago in order to increase civic engagement and voting in local elections. We've hosted a few candidate forums, participated in many community events, and we're really excited to be partnering with QATV tonight to be offering this forum. It will be live as well as posted on the QATV website, and Quincy Votes is going to post it on our website as well. Some of the candidates have answered questionnaires that you can check out on the quincyvotes.org website. We also have a map on there of where Ward 4 is in Quincy. We know that a lot of voters aren't exactly sure which ward they're in, and so we have a resource that's available for you that shows the parameters of Ward 4. You can also go to wheredoivote.com to check out where you vote and which ward you're in. We encourage you to check this out, but even if you're not a Ward 4 voter, our Ward 4 counselor at City Council impacts all of us. And so we encourage all voters in Quincy to learn more about these candidates and have a voice and a say, even if it's not a vote in the upcoming election. So the way that this forum is going to work tonight is we're going to allow the candidates each 1 minute to introduce themselves, and then we're going to have a series of questions that have been submitted from the community. Quincy Votes reached out to community through social media and emails and through the Quincy Sun, asking people to submit questions, and we received over 60 questions from the community, so we won't have time for that tonight, but we have pulled out the themes and the common issues that some of our panelists will be asking, as well as invited people to submit video questions. So our first question will be a video question from a candidate, from a resident. And so we're going to have each candidate do a 1 minute opening, and then each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the questions. So with that, I think we're ready to get started. So the way we're going to do it is the candidates picked numbers before we started so that they got to choose which order they went in. So we're going to have Joel start, and then Jimmy's going to go next, and then Matt, and then we're going to switch the order up so everyone gets a chance to go first, second, and third, and we'll keep moving through that. So it'll be fair. Not everyone, one person doesn't get stuck with the first or last question each time. So with that, I'm going to invite Joel to give us your opening statement. You have 1 minute.
Hello. Again, my name is Joel Bonaventura. I'm a labor attorney. I'm a Filipino immigrant. I live in Ward 4. I live in the house I grew up in on Common Street. I've lived there since 1981. I also work at the National Association of Government Employees, a national union in the City of Presidents. I hope to use my skill sets and my experience to the Ward 4 office, and I hope after this conversation with you and the other candidates that you'll consider me for your vote in the preliminary election next Tuesday. And I thank Liz and Quincy Votes for organizing this. I thank the community members on the panel for coming out and using their time. And I especially thank you for tuning in and to participate in this election. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Welcome, Jimmy, for your 1 minute opening statement.
Hi, how are you? My name is James Devine. I live down on Cross Street. I moved to Quincy almost 19 years ago, and I believe that I'm a true representation of the Ward 4 people. I want to help and, jeez, I already lost myself here. I'm not a public speaker, sorry. I forgot, I definitely wanted to thank Quincy Votes and QATV right away for setting this up, and how I'm impressed with Amy, a young student that is being so proactive and involved in such important civic duties. And Shika, I also appreciate your time and thank you for coming. I've raised my 2 children down here in Quincy in Ward 4. I've run a small business. I'm a carpenter. I've really enjoyed raising my children here. It's an unbelievably diverse and excellent community. So with that being said, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Jimmy. Welcome, Matt Lyons.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the opportunity to let the people of Ward 4 and the City of Quincy get to know me. Thank you for QATV. My name is Matt Lyons. I've been a resident in Ward 4 since 1986. I'm a 4th generation Quincy Ward 4 resident. I have a family dating back that lived in Ward 4 to the mid-1800s. My grandmother, Margaret McDougall Lyons, was born in 1899 on Grove Street. My mother grew up on Campbell Street, and my father grew up on Sheldon Street. I have family in the ward. I'm a 35-year technician for Verizon, as well as a representative with the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 2222 in Boston. My work through my union has given me a respect for the political process in the state and the city of Quincy as well. And this is one of the skills that I bring to the table for the people of Ward 4.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. I know it's not easy to be in this setting. I've been there, so really appreciate your willingness to be here with us tonight. So our first question is coming from a resident, and we're going to share a video of that now.
Hello, my name is Ann Meyerson, and I've been a resident of Quincy for 18 years. And as you probably know, the mayor has asked the city council to approve a petition for home rule from the state to allow the city to renew the lease for the Granite Links Golf Course, which is in Ward 4, for an additional 99 years. There is still 22 years left on the original lease. Many Quincy residents have serious concerns about this, including this commits the city to an arrangement for many generations in the future, for a time we cannot imagine what the needs and priorities will be then. The original plan called for continued access across the area to the Blue Hills Reservation through the golf course and well-maintained trails. There is no access and no maintained trails. The original plan also called for creating and maintaining ball fields, which have not been maintained. There does not appear to be an independent audit of the Granite Links finances, so the amount due to the city, 10% annually of revenue generated, cannot be verified. Without an open and competitive bid, there's no way to know if the city could negotiate a deal that's more advantageous to the city. And finally, the city has very limited open green space, and some of the largest parcels are 3 golf courses, which are only accessible to members. If you were elected, how would you vote on whether to petition the state for a home rule decision to allow the 99-year lease extension? Thank you.
Thank you so much for that thoughtful question. We're going to start with Jimmy, and then Matt, and then Joel. So Jimmy, you have 2 minutes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And what an excellent question. It's definitely one of the biggest ones for everybody in Ward 4. And it's a very tough one. So thank you very much for getting that right out in front. It's a double-edged sword. It's a hot topic. I really like the way you made the point about the 10% and how we know what we're getting, because I was just speaking to a constituent earlier today, and she knows who she is, and we were talking about that, and it's very important that we do find out what the 10% is and how we audit that. So I would like to see that happen. And the ball fields, I believe they're working on the drainage problem. My kids played baseball, well, my son played baseball up there, and it really was an issue because many times it would flood and they wouldn't be able to play games, and it wouldn't be just a day, it'd be 3 days after a rainstorm. So to the best of my knowledge, they're working on that. And as far as the trail going between the golf course, some people at Blue Hills, friends of Blue Hills, they expressed to me that the area behind the Blue Hills is now, the last 20 years, has become flourishing with natural wildlife. They're doing really well by being isolated. So I'd hate to see a path go through there. I'd much prefer to see a nice trail come up on either side of it and then loop back so it didn't interfere with that part. And I think they'd be better visions, just as good a view. So I think we might be able to get 2 trails out of them. That's what I would like to ask for. And then as far as the 100 years, I'm running out of time here. The 100 years, we do have many 99-year leases in the city. I don't know, maybe we should suggest just doing one full 99, not adding 99 to the 22, but sorry, my time's up.
All right, thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for that. There was a lot in that question, so thank you for answering that. Matt, welcome.
Hi, thanks for the question. I think it's a very important topic for Ward 4. I believe that the people that run the golf course up there and the people that have the lease already and they're looking for the extension, I understand that they're looking for the extension for development as well. And I think, personally, I don't want to be anti-development. I think there's a place for the development. I think what they want to do up there may be good for the city of Quincy as far as bringing in revenue as well, but we also have to do it responsibly, and there has to be mitigation involved to build on that. The Friends of Blue Hills do have some valid points as far as the trails goes. Those should be made and maintained throughout. But we also need to do something about the traffic that this will create. And I don't think there should be anything approved before we have a plan that's going to mitigate the traffic at the bottom of the Rasuti Drive. I think that a lot of it falls on the state. That's not something that a city councilor or really the city is going to be able to do without partnership with the state. And we need to really look into that and the mitigation of all of what it will result in. 99-year leases, while it sounds like a lot, in business, it really doesn't, it's pretty commonplace. They got 50-year lease at the first time. They have 20 years left on that. So it's quite, it sounds like a lot, but I think it's something that can be negotiated. I think the mayor will negotiate for the best deal he can for the people of Quincy. And, I think that we can find a common ground, and that's basically what I'd be always looking for, is a common ground and some common sense, and no matter what the issue is, whether it's with Granite Hills or any other topic. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Matt. Joel.
Oh, hi, Ann. Thank you for that wonderful question, and I'm glad this is a big topic, especially for Ward 4. I think as part of this lease and this agreement, Granite Links being in Ward 4, obviously, as my other candidates have noted, we bear the brunt of the development here, and we develop the brunt of any traffic issues if they build a hotel there. I think that was one thing that was suggested by the tenant. But I think the big issue, and I think you sort of answered it in your question, but I think we want to see more transparency. Transparency, transparency, transparency. Now, I'm a lawyer, so sadly, lawyers tend to kill deals. But I think you need someone there that's going to look at each of those terms of those agreements. What was promised, what was needed. When you talk about the ball fields, when you talk about the trails, when you talk about the signage, what is there? Do people know these trails are there? How did we get to these trails? Is that being done? Who do we get to enforce that part of those agreements and those covenants that we have with the tenant of the city of Quincy? I myself am concerned. What part of the city is going to get some money out of this, the 10%, but what do we as the taxpayers, what are we going to be in for another 100 years, 99 years? I would definitely like to see more audits, an audit committee on this thing, on this project, and maybe even before the council even votes for it, before it gets to the home rule, maybe we need a little more of a pause and to just look and review what kind of deal we're going to put together. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Joel. So the next question is going to come from Joe Catalano from QATV, and we're going to go Matt, Joel, Jimmy.
Thanks, Liz. Mr. Lyons, this is another question about development, undoubtedly one of the major topics across the entire city, specifically in Ward 4, where there are a lot of large major developments. One of them right at the corner of Furnace-Brook Parkway and Copeland Street, a plan for a 5-story, 46-unit residential building to replace some single-family homes there. What's your position on that particular development? And kind of give us your perspective on development in general in Ward 4 and how you think it should proceed.
Well, I'm not an anti-development person. I think I'm a union member as well and a union leader, and I believe that bringing jobs as well as new buildings into the ward. I think as far as there are certain sections in Ward 4 that absolutely need development. I think it needs to be responsible development. I think the project that's been proposed at Furnace Brook and Copeland, I think is a little over ambitious. I think it's I don't think it fits the lots where they are. I think we have when you look at Quincy, we have 3 different entranceways into the city. I think you have Bergen Parkway, Furnace Brook Parkway, and the Ponset River at the bridge. And Furnace Brook Parkway is a big entranceway and exitway for the residents and visitors coming into the city. And I think that intersection can be overwhelmed pretty easily. So I as it stands right now, I would not be in favor of building that building.
Thank you, Matt. Joel?
Good question. Again, a question on people's minds. There's actually going to be a community meeting, I believe, on the 19th, Councilor Damona, at the Southwest School. I hope all of you who are out there listening come out on that day. I'm not for the project as it is. I'm not anti-development, but I would like to see more community input on this project. I think I am, again, this project, I tend to say, at the way it stands, no. I think it's going to increase traffic, and I think that intersection is a tough intersection. It's not what I would envision. I hope we get more input from the community toward the developer on that. There's another, next to that project, there's another, I believe, 8 units building next to it. So you have to be sensitive to that neighborhood, The other thing I'd like to say in general, as far as my thoughts on development around the city, again, I'm for smart development. For me, it's all about community input and what should be. Nobody should stop a person if they buy a parcel of land, but I think we can have a conversation, and I think that's what the zoning laws are about, to have this conversation with the community about what's right for what's right for the businesses you're going to put in, what's right for the development. Now, bigger developments are a little different from smaller developments. I've observed some of the zoning meetings, and I think, you don't want to get too much into arguments between neighbors, but it is something that we should think about. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thanks, Joel. Jimmy?
Joe, thank you very much. Good question. I've spoken very openly about this. I've actually been at the zoning and planning meetings for this, and it's very difficult. I know the person that's actually building it. I've done some small business with them, buying T-shirts for a MS walk that my daughter and I do, and I see him in the donut shop. But I still, I got up and I spoke at the meeting, and I objected to the size of it, and it's not easy. but I don't mind asking the hard questions and confronting situations that I believe are problems for Ward 4. By doing that with some of the other people there, I believe that that's the reason we're having the community meeting, because that night, myself and a few other people, Ward 4 residents, spoke up, and we were heard. And so now, last night, they canceled it, and their meeting, and we're going to have the meeting that Joel talked about, which is excellent. We should have done that in the beginning. That's what I want to do as a counselor. I'm not against construction either. We do it, consciously. But when we know about big projects like this, we need to talk to the people first, so that the developer and the people can agree on something before we waste everyone's time. We got meetings that we canceled because nobody talked about it in the beginning. If we talk about it in the beginning, it's very simple. We'll come up with ideas. The builder will say, oh, geez, they don't want that? Okay, well, we could do this. And then the people would say, yeah, we like that, or, it's a better idea. And then we can make it fit. And this bigger project, it should have been talked about well in advance. So I'm not happy about it at all. I'm sorry I'm passionate about Ward 4, and thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for the question. So next, Amy Tan is going to ask the next question, and each candidate will have 2 minutes. We'll start with Joel, and then go to Jimmy, and then Matt.
If elected, which council committees would you bring the most impact to, and how? The council committees listed on the city website are Finance, Ordinance, Oversight, Community Engagement, Downtown and Economic Growth, Education, Environmental and Public Health, Housing, Library and Historic Places, Municipal Tech and Information, Park and Recreation, Public Buildings, Public Safety, Public Works, Rules, Senior Citizens, and Veteran Services.
Lots of options there. So Joel, you get to start.
Well, first, I'd like to be on Public Works. I'm more of a selfishness. I just want to know when my streets are going to get paved and all the development. I know if I'm on the Public Works, I'll at least be at the front or know what the news is on that. Now, I have a master's in public health, so I'm a public health person. I do believe in trying to find solutions. I mean, not just the pandemic, but other areas. That's a heartfelt interest of mine. And the other thing, when I was at Massachusetts Department of Public Health, I regulated nursing homes, and I fought against elder abuse. I prosecuted cases for the Nurse Aid Registry. So I would definitely be interested in the elder committee to learn more. I'm very interested in seeing what activities there are, their issues. Okay, thank you.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Jimmy?
Amy, thank you. Very good question. Once again, so impressed with you. For me, I would like to Parks and Recreation. When I was younger, I started a landscaping company, and I'm really into things like that. We have some great parks that we have around here, trees that we've been saving. We have a really good tree fund that we put in. Every time a tree is cut down by developers or something else like that, they have to pay into it to have more trees planted in the city. So I like that. That's more trees is much better. The idea of the recreation, it's these resources that we have. We have unbelievable resources for all the people in the community. A lot of them don't even know what they are. And one of them is Lincoln Hancock Pool. You can, as a family, you can go and get, for $150 for the year, you can get a membership to the Lincoln Hancock Pool, which is amazing to me, because if there's a family that can't afford to get a membership at a big health club, they have access to an unbelievable pool that I taught my kids how to swim in. It was amazing. So it has a big diving board. As soon as you're able to swim one lap and back on the Olympic-sized pool is when you're allowed to dive off the diving board. And I remember watching my son Evan trying to get there, and he'd swim, and he'd get a third of the way, 2/3 of the way, and then he finally got there. But I already met a constituent that had moved into Quincy recently, and I told him about this pool. That I really liked. I want to help people learn these things, and they said they're going to go do it. And they're excited now that they can get their kids into a pool. I'm going to run out of time, but so that Parks and Recreation is what I would really like. And clearly we're going to be on lots of those committees anyways, because I think the first 5 you listed, you have to be on no matter what. But thank you.
Great. Thanks, Jimmy. Matt?
Thank you for the question. I'm glad we don't have to do a lap to qualify for this. But I think I think there are some of the committees that everybody is all the councils are members of as anyways. But I think 2 of the most important ones are the oversight and the ordinance committees, where you have really, that's where you can get your transparency as a counselor, and I believe that was the most important. But some of the other ones that kind of go, I have family that goes back in the city of Quincy, like I had said, to the mid-1800s, and my family has a proud history of working in the quarries, as well as just living here for a very long time. So the history part really intrigues me a lot, and I would, as I go on, I'm going to try to do more research into my family history here. So that part of it is huge to me. But that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Thank you. So the next question will come from Shika, and we'll have Jimmy, Matt, and then Joel. So welcome, Shika.
Candidates, thank you. I'd like to go back to the question around traffic development. Development is going to happen. It's good for our city. It's good for our neighborhoods. However, smart development is what we're looking for in our community. Ward 4 is very densely populated. So what is your viewpoint, and I guess what is your platform that you're running on to help improve a walkable city or community for Ward 4, and to ensure that we reduce some of the congestion?
Thank you.
That's to me, right?
Jimmy,
Yes.
yep.
Okay. Thank you. Another excellent question. You guys are all doing really good. No easy ones tonight, huh? This is actually not easy. It's clearly a huge issue. So we could start by going back to the Furnace Brook project, where they want to put in all those units. One of the biggest things is we have the state runs through here, and we have to deal with the state also. So Furnace Brook Parkway is a state operation. They have 3 lights that are there. There's one there at Furnace Brook, and then there's one at the bottom of Quarry, and then Adams Street. I'd like to make sure that those are all linked and work smart, because I don't believe they are now, but they can sync them so that they work better, and that then they're synced so that they'll create the traffic to move back and forth. We're in District 6 for the state, so that director would be the one I would hopefully be dealing with directly, and put pressure on them, because if this project does go in at Furnace Brook, we already need this to happen, because you're backed up onto the highway, at 5:30, 5 o'clock. So that's one thing. The second thing is talking about Ricciuti Drive. I went after the state years ago, and I personally called them and complained about it, and they told me, you can't do it. There's an ordinance that says you have you can't be that short of a ramp. I'm going to run out of time. So anyways, I think maybe an overpass or something over at Ricciuti Drive would be much better, if we can get them to commit to something like that. And as far as walking, we're working on all our sidewalks, so that's good. And a lot of bicycle stuff too is important. We've really committed to some grants that we got from the bicycle things, and I think there's a group that's running bicycle things too, so they're doing a good job with that, and that'll probably help a lot with people walking. And I'm out of time. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you for keeping it time. You're making my job easier.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Welcome, Matt.
So I think Ward 4 really is blessed to have the Blue Hills as part of the ward and part of the city, and I've taken advantage of it over the years for walking the Skyline Trail and just walking all over the Blue Hills. I think when you look at the map of the ward, where you have almost 2 different two different worlds, where you have the Blue Hill side of the ward and the Quincy side of the ward, with the highway running down right through the middle of it. I think that's what I'd like to see better, is more access to be able to get over to that side of the ward, where you can, with better sidewalks, maybe some trails in certain places. Like you said, it's a very densely populated neighborhood, and there's not really a lot of places where you can put paths and bike paths and things to be able to get over to the Blue Hills. But I think that would be as far as like building new sidewalks is very important, is making a more walkable area. But honestly, it's to try to get people to use the Blue Hills more, and to get out in there. I think a lot of people that you see going up to the Blue Hills and parking at like where the hockey rink is, I think a lot of those people aren't from Ward 4, or maybe even not even from the city. So I'd love to see more participation getting up into the Blue Hills. And once you get out there and you see how beautiful it is, and see what a great treasure it is for the city and Ward 4 itself, I think it would become more important to the residents. So I would try to increase access in getting there.
Great, thank you, Joel.
Shika, great question. Traffic. I live on Common Street, 29 Common Street. It's a pass-through. I would say, I was talking to one of my neighbors, about 70% of the city passes through my street. It's at the Furnace Brook, Quincy Adams intersection. It goes through Quarry Street. Traffic. This is a problem. But let's think about it. Let's think about a real traffic study. Maybe we need to have a study, talk to MassDOT, talk to DCR, talk to the city of Quincy about these traffic issues off our off-ramps, at Furnace Brook, at Bryant, and at the 3A1 at Center Street. We really need to think about what's causing this increase in traffic. We also need to think about safety and enforcement. I'm not sure. I'd love to have a conversation with the city of Quincy and the police about anything we can do to get people to just slow down. I always say to myself, if I don't get beeped at twice a day, I'm doing something wrong, because I drive. I'm blessed that I only have like a 5-minute commute to my workplace. Unfortunately, at 7:30 when I wake up, I can't get out of my driveway because the street, if you know, Adams Street backs up to Gen S at that time. So I would encourage, as a counselor, I would hope that we could do more studies to find real solutions in terms of the traffic and the backups, in terms of also when they put in these developments. I really think we need to think about not just the development and the traffic in front of it, but again, the traffic next to a development. Like as we mentioned earlier, that development at Copeland and Quarry Street, there's a development right next to it of an 8-unit condo, and there's going to be an 8 on Cross Street where Jimmy lives. There's going to be a 5-unit townhouse. That's going to increase more cars. So, are we out of time? Okay, excuse me. Thank you.
Thank you. So our next question is a video that was submitted by another resident, and we're going to have Matt, then Joel, then Jimmy, and we're going to check out this video from a resident.
Hey everybody, my name's Jim Gavoni. I am a Ward 4 resident. Thank you for being here tonight. On numerous occasions, our mayor has used the term economically disadvantaged with our ward to describe our ward, us and Quincy Point. What does that mean? And how do we fix it?
Great. So Matt, then Joel, then Jimmy, you each have 2 minutes.
Well, I'm not sure, like I just previously said with the last question, I believe, is that I kind of view Ward 4 as two different worlds. I think when you look at the neighborhoods on the Blue Hill side of the ward, it's It's pretty nice and well established, beautiful houses, and there's not to say that there's not beautiful houses and good neighborhoods in the other side, but I think there are some more challenged neighborhoods. I don't know what the mayor means. I'm certainly not going to try to speak for him and correct what he says, but I think there needs to be some new development. I don't like the thought of new development in some of these areas where it's going to displace people. Gentrification is happening all over the city of Boston, and I work in the city of Boston. I have for 35 years. There are neighborhoods, every single neighborhood in the city, where you can see it, and it doesn't matter the makeup of the neighborhoods. So you can look at South Boston, Savin Hill, Roxbury, Mattapan. So all these neighborhoods are facing gentrification in their own way, and they're the neighborhoods from when I first started working in the city of Boston to now that do not look the same. Part of the problem with transforming these neighborhoods into, something that the mayor wouldn't be saying that about, might end up displacing people, and I'm not for that as well. So I'd like to try to find some kind of solution to what you're saying and the perception that some people may have of Ward 4, without displacing people. So I think there's a fine line there. Many of the people that own homes in the Brewers Corner don't live there; they rent them out, and that presents a big challenge to it. But I'm open, and I will definitely be searching for ways to help the neighborhoods, those neighborhoods, to develop without displacement.
Thank you. Thanks, Matt. Joel, 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not sure again, the question, economically disadvantaged, I'm not sure what we're alluding to there. Let me just say this. I'm an immigrant. I do come from a family of professionals, but I'm an immigrant. I'm with you. I'm with renters. I'm with property owners. Whatever their needs are, I'm with them, and that's my answer.
Great. Thank you, Joel. Jimmy?
Jim, great question. I hope I answer it correctly. I hope I heard it right. Anyways, in our ward, we have a lot of apartments that are, like Matt said, owned by non-absentee landlords. So there's a lot of single parents that are trying to raise their children there. I think maybe that's what the economic this is. But anyways, as a counselor, that's one of the greatest things that I want. That's one of the biggest things that I can help with, is to get these people to the resources that they can have. We have these amazing resources. There's the Quincy Community Center down on Copeland Street. They just redid that, and it's amazing. There's a few people that work down there, and there are volunteers that work down there, and they have all these special things that they can do for people. It's not just a food pantry. They have fuel assistance. There's even a grant that they can write if somebody needed their stairs fixed and they couldn't afford to fix them. If it's under $1,000, it's a simple grant, and you can go and get that. I really would encourage anybody to go to the QCAP and see what they can get if they're. That's what we can do for these people, is if you're asking, Jim. And we have the ability to do this. And another thing I'd like to do is take the absentee landlords. I want to make them responsible. Sometimes they don't have proper trash barrels for the tenants, so the tenants, they're not going to buy it themselves, and then they put it out on the street and rip bags and things like that. And I don't want to go after the tenant. I want to go after the landlord. I want to find them. We have a great guy down in our building city, that Mr. Burke. He's the city enforcer on these ordinances. I want to have him go after those absentee landlords to make sure that I'm out of time. Sorry.
Great. Thank you. So Joe Catalano, QATV, has the next question, and we'll start with Joel and then go to Jimmy and then Matt.
Thanks, Liz. Mr. Buenaventura, as you're aware, the Quincy City Council recommended the creation of a Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. The mayor appointed a commission that commission came back with a recommendation to hire a liaison in the mayor's office and funded that position, but that has not yet been filled. Do you think that's an important position in the city, and do you feel that the city does enough to reach out to new immigrants into the city?
Okay, well, again, let me say this again. I am a Filipino immigrant, so yes, I grew up here. The city of Quincy is a wonderful place for families. Yes, we've had sort of not so fond memories of my childhood of racism that we expect nuanced. I don't want to get into it in my answer to this question, but I do want to say this in terms of funding. Yeah, it would be after the review, if that position, if that were funded, that would be great, and I think that would be symbolic. But I would also urge people to think through this issue, that it's not about just funding one position for a person. He becomes the diversity officer. Diversity and equity and inclusion, we've taken a lot of strong steps in the past 20 years or so to address these issues. We've talked about microaggressions, micropaths, unconscious bias. I would suggest that the city do more training on these issues for their employees and their staff. I would also suggest, as far as diversity, equity, inclusion, I would like to see more out of the public schools in terms of education and understanding. I applaud many of the community groups, such as Black Lives Matters, which has a stand, I believe, every Thursday afternoon. And I just think these issues need to be raised. I remember Senator Keenan did write a letter about the neo-Nazi group and his stance on that position. So yeah, anything we could do more to further these issues would be great.
Thank you, Joel. Jimmy?
Yeah, Joe, thank you very much. Good question. And also, I for some reason I thought that was filled, but I guess I'm wrong. If you're saying it's not filled, it's because I know you're very up to date on these things. Yeah, well, it would be nice to get it filled to make sure that things keep going the right way. My children, I sent them through 4 school systems here, and 3 of them are in Ward 4, Dela Chiesa, Lincoln Hancock, which is also Lions Pride, and then on to Sterling, which is now Southwest. I have unbelievable, I love those schools. They're so diverse, and my kids grew up with diversity. And I know that everyone says that there's these big problems, but there are. But all my children's friends are all different races, and I'm sorry, it's a hard one for me because I hate to see the isolated things like about the principal at Quincy High School. You know, one person did some stupid thing, and this man's an unbelievable person. The kids love him at Quincy High, and he has such passion, and he gets the kids rallied up, and he's really good, and they all love him. You know, so once again, I'm starting to get passionate, and I would like to see that position filled. I think it'd be great, and I'm sure that they will do an excellent job, whoever we find to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
I think it's imperative that we get not just have it filled, but have it filled by the right person, and have it filled with the person that has the best of intentions. I think Quincy has come a long way in the time that I've lived here. It's a very much so a multicultural community, and I think there's, being said that we've come a long way, there's still a long way to go. It's hard to teach tolerance and acceptance, but you know, I think everybody's got to find it in their heart to just treat people with the same dignity and respect that you want to be treated with. I think that's something that I was raised with. I was raised in a family that taught us to live your life in service of others, and to be respectful and treat people with the same dignity and respect that you expect to be treated with. And I don't think that's that hard of a concept that we can all live by, and to grow as a community. I think the fact of the matter is that Quincy is a diverse community. I think the Chinese community in North Quincy has grown dramatically. I remember the days when there wasn't any Asian supermarkets in those neighborhoods, and now there are. There's businesses thriving. There's elected officials. There's, I think we've come a long way. That being said, there's plenty of room to grow, and it will be an ongoing issue. And I think, to your question, we need to hire the right person for that. I think that's the most important thing about that position.
Great. Thank you all for your answers. Amy, you're up next with the next question, and we're going to go to Jimmy, Matt, and then Joel.
Quincy's future bus depot will be built in Ward 4 at the former Lowe's site. How do you feel about this, and how would you work with the MBTA in regards to this? In conjunction with your answer, most of the buses planned for the site will initially be diesel hybrids, which reduce the bus's reliance on their diesel engines. However, the hybrids are an improvement over the all-diesel buses used today, but still emit about 70% of the toxic pollutants compared to the current fleet. Would you push for the entire fleet to be turned into electric buses, which produce no tailpipe emissions and are cheaper than diesel hybrids over their lifetimes?
Jimmy first.
Yeah. Amy, once again, great question. Really good question. First, one thing I'd like to do with the MBTA would be possibly for the residents of South Quincy that seem they're cut off from Bergen Parkway, and everybody forgets they're over there. Not me. I know you guys are there. I'd like to get a sound wall put up. Kind of like the ones on the highway, so that we can reduce. The train's already there and it already makes noise, I know. But it's just going to be more noise with more buses. So maybe a sound wall going along that wall between the train and South Quincy might really help for some noise. As far as the hybrid stuff, that's excellent. I really like that. Going all hybrid, I don't know. There's a lot of different things going on as far as firefighters and things like that, which I have a huge passion for fire. Police and our teachers, but some of these batteries in these buses and cars, they're volatile, and they don't get the special train. They do get training, but it's up and growing. So having a whole fleet of them could be very dangerous. The foam that they use to put these things out it comes in two parts sometimes, or one part, and we don't have all that technology right now. It's growing rapidly. So to have that much of all those batteries, I think we'd have to make sure that we definitely have to train the fire department excessively on that, because if it's going to be in our backyard right there. So Amy, thank you so much for that question. It's a really good one.
Thanks, Matt.
So using the old Lowe's lot for the buses, I think is, when you look at, you can take a tour of the old bus depot that's up on Hancock Street, and it goes back to the 1930s. It needed to be replaced. They can't just keep going with this. The T gets a lot of publicity nowadays. The T is, I think it bothers me the way that the media covers it. They just want to dump on the T, and well, here it's down again. But the fact of the matter is that it's been mismanaged, underfunded, and underemployed for a very long time. And we've had a series of governors who have done absolutely nothing but try to save money and dump debt into the T. And so the problems with the T go very deep, very deep. And it's the oldest subway system in the country. It needs to be rebuilt from the core out. If we don't spend the money doing that, we're just going to be putting Band-Aid after Band-Aid after Band-Aid on it. And so that's really out of the hands of the city council. It really falls on the governor and the state. But as far as the Lowe's lot goes, I think it was a missed opportunity when we lost Lowe's, which was a good revenue generating use for the lot for the city, and I think there were other opportunities to get something like that in there, and we missed out on those those opportunities. But now we're going to have the T there, which doesn't pay the city any taxes or anything like that. So as far as the city's benefit from that, we've kind of lost out on that. As far as I think the T is going to naturally progress to more more environmentally sound things. I don't know. I wouldn't be lying to you if I told you that I know all the technology for it, but I am for going towards non-carbon burning vehicles.
Great, thank you. Joel?
I think this garage, and this repair center, it's going to happen. So yes, and I agree that maybe we did miss out on some opportunities on what could be there, but it's happening. So as far as the hybrid and electric, of course I would be in favor of that. I think that tinges on environmental and climate change issues. So any type of technology that can lower our carbon footprint, greenhouse gases, etc. As far as what I also think to my neighbors on Columbia Street and Penn Street, yes, I would hope that when this garage gets built and is being built and in the development, we do have things like sound walls or whatever mitigation. There's a whole neighborhood behind that garage. I hope that their input, I know the team has meetings on these things, so I would want to make sure that those neighbors' needs are addressed. And again, just going back to climate change, I think it will open up the space for the old garage on Hancock Street. I'd be excited to see what's going on Hancock Street, though that's not Ward 4. However, I think this project is going to happen, and I'm in favor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Shika, you have the next question,
Wow.
and we're going to go Matt, Joel, and then Jimmy.
Well, you guys teed it up for me. So my question is, really, of the number of issues that are going on today, climate change is a big issue. I'd like to know, what is your viewpoint on what do you feel what do you feel the city government's responsibility is in addressing climate change?
Well, I think the building codes, I think, is a big part of it. I think that especially when you look at the climate change where along the waterfront, any kind of development along the waterfront should be built with the expectation that we're going to have sea level rise. We have a great deal of oceanfront property, waterfront property not Ward 4, but in the city of Quincy. So as far as that goes, that's a huge issue for the city itself. I think, we're going to be transitioning as time goes on, whether people like it or not. We're going to be getting away from the oil-based cars, and this, I think it's an important thing. I don't think it's the only thing. It's certainly not, going to change everything. I think there's going to be huge changes that go on. Change is hard for human beings, I think, historically, when you look at it. But we're all going to have to wrap our heads around the fact that climate change is real, and we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it in building, as well as capping our carbon pollution. So I don't have all the answers for that, but I will always be open to learning more on that. And I am definitely somebody who does not deny that climate change is occurring.
Great, thank you. Joel?
Hi, Shika. I did answer this question for QCAM for Quincy, and I believe it's posted online. But I do believe climate change is real. We are a coastal city, and I think the tides are rising, the levels rising. But I'm a proponent, obviously, of think globally, act locally. At least for the remainder of the position for the next year, I've thought through the city does have a responsibility. We as residents have a responsibility to our environment. I will participate in Cleaner, Greener Quincy this coming May. I believe it's May or June. I won't have the dates. I know that the city is making strides in thinking about food waste. I noticed at the last city council meeting, the mayor did make some points about trying to get RFRs for solar panels and solar canopies. So yeah, any little thing that we can do to help the environment, that's something we really need to do and we need to think about. Again, I'm not forcing it on people, but it is a consideration, and I would hope people would agree with me.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you, Shika. Good question. I think you asked what's the responsibility of the city. It's 100% the responsibility of the city to make sure that we're working closely towards climate change items. One of the big things that we have coming up now is that we accepted the stretch code, which is an extremely complicated but excellent code that now we already implemented. And I believe we now have accepted the special stretch code also, which is even, it's so stringent and it's superb. It does a really good job. And that shows that the city is working that way, and we're gonna have to stay focused on it. We have the new animal shelter that's being built. I don't quote me, but I think it's going to have solar panels on it and be able to take care of itself. But there's also we're getting, I believe, some other grants that are going to be putting more solar panels on top of a lot of our city buildings, which is very important. We need to be doing that. Some of them, I know they're just labeling them so that they can possibly in the future put solar panels on, but it's 100% the responsibility of the city. And we also, talking about what Joel said, we have a study going on to find out if we can start getting organic solids out of our trash, which is a climate control thing too. We'll be able to make our own soil that we can reuse in our parks and recreation if we can do it. And then we'll also save money because we pay by tonnage on trash to capital waste. If we can pull out all that weight out of there, we'll save money, and we'll have twofold. We'll be able to do a couple different things. Such a small little item, thinking you take your organic trash, and I'm out of time. Sorry, everyone.
Thank you. So thank you again to our panelists for those thoughtful questions. So we're moving into the final portion of our time together. Each candidate is going to have 1 minute for a closing statement. The order is going to be Matt, and then Joel, and then Jimmy. And then I will do a closing, and then we'll call it a night. So Matt, 1 minute.
Thank you very much for tuning in tonight to listen to us. Thank you, Liz and Quincy Votes, and thank you to the panel for the questions. Like I said, I'm a fourth generation Ward 4, specifically Quincy resident, and I take deep pride in that. My family has sacrificed and helped build the community that we now live in, and I intend on, as your Ward 4 City Council, I intend on growing that legacy and standing on the shoulders of my ancestors who came here and built their lives to themselves and brought my family into the middle class. And we take a huge amount of pride in that. We take a huge amount of pride in the city, and we're all working. I'll work hard to give back to the city, and I'll do that in the form of serving for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joel?
Hi, hi again, Joel Buenaventura. Hi, I hope this conversation has been helpful for all of you. I thank my opponents, my fellow candidates. I'm happy to have gotten to know both Jimmy and Matt, but I hope you would consider me for your vote. I hope this conversation was helpful. I hope by chances to meet you door knocking, I hope you'll consider me for your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. Jimmy?
Hi, how are you? Thank you very much, Quincy Votes and the panel. I appreciate everything you've done. Great questions. Joel, thank you. It was nice to meet both of you gentlemen also, and talk about all these things tonight, which is great. 57 days ago, I hit the ground running to run for Ward 4 councilor for us. The most important part of this job is to represent the people of Ward 4, and that's the most important thing to me, is just the people of Ward 4. I've already proven that I ask hard questions and I stand up, and I get in there and I do it. I make things happen. And even when it was difficult to talk against somebody that I personally knew, I did it. I stood up, I stood my ground, and I spoke up for everybody in Ward 4. And that's what I'm going to do if you pick me as your counselor, I'm going to continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to our candidates. I know it's not easy to be in this seat, and so we really appreciate your willingness to be here with us tonight and have your thoughtful responses to these questions. And thank you again to our panelists for spending time with us tonight and really thinking deeply about what are the issues that Quincy as a community, as well as Ward 4 specifically, has on their minds and in their hearts, and representing that here tonight. Huge thank you to QATV, not only for hosting us, but keeping us organized and on track. And I just want to say a special thank you to Maggie McKee for all the work that she has done on the back end for Quincy Votes to pull together the questions, make sure that our questions were representative of the community, and Courtney Perdios for putting the flyer together and helping us promote it. This was certainly a team effort. It definitely takes a village. And the one most important piece of information that you need to have is when and where you are going to vote. So elections are coming up soon, next week. Early voting has started. Primary election day is Tuesday, January 17th. The polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Early voting has already started, so you can go to City Hall during the week and vote. And then that's a preliminary election. After the preliminary election is completed, 2 candidates will move on to the general election, and that will happen on Tuesday, February 7th. And polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Tuesday, February 7th. And early voting will happen again for that general election. So those of you in Ward 4, you will need to vote twice. You get to vote twice. So the first opportunity to vote starts now and is on Election Day on the 17th. Your second opportunity to vote is on Tuesday, February 7th. If you're not sure where you vote or what ward you're in, we have some links to websites here that you can check out. And you can always go to our quincyvotes.org website for the questionnaires that we have pulled together from the candidates, a link to this forum tonight, as well as more information about where and when you can vote. We know that this is a special election in the middle of winter, and so likely turnout is going to be a little low. Your vote matters more than ever. We want to make sure that you have all the information you need to make an informed decision, both in the preliminary election and then in the general election. So please take the time to watch these videos, look at the questionnaires, even reach out to the candidates. I know most of, if not all of them, have shared their cell phones and email addresses. Reach out and have a chat with them. I'm sure they would love to hear from you and hear the questions that you have on your mind. So with that, I wish you all a great evening, and thank you for taking time to be with us.